Up next, Broom Broom or Motoring with Tony Conlon. He's a great man for pulling a rabbit from the hat, as they say. Yes, Tony Conlon, our motoring expert. And I'm not calling our guest today anything to do with a rabbit or anything like that, but you know what I mean. Tony always brings them along month after month here. Tony, you're very welcome to the show as usual.
Thanks very much,
and I want to welcome, first time on radio, he tells me first time he's ever done an interview on the airwaves, Tony Murphy. He's the MD, Tom Murphy. He's the MD of Motor Display Systems. Tom, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Tell me about Motor Display Systems, or why Tony is this man with us today. What does he do?
Basically what happened was the Motor Display had an event recently, and I think a few invites went out to the motoring press, and unfortunately I couldn't make it. And I rang Tom and I said, apologies Tom, I can't make this event and whatever, but if there's something we can look at, send me on the data. And I think it was one of the first to come back to you with that. So hence we said, well, there might be something in this for listeners here, especially when you're going to see the fuel filler cap and everything else here. But and listeners will hear about what the developments are. If it can help our listeners save money and not make mistakes, and of course it has to be valuable
and so improve the driving experience.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's about. Tom, you're here as I said, MD of Motor Display Systems. You're in business 21 years. You primarily sell to the trade, that's fair to say.
Our business primarily is with the industry. We don't this is our first real venture into something that would involve the motoring public. We would normally supply the likes of tax holders and back window stickers, key rings, all that type of stuff to the industry. We'd be well known within the industry, but the motoring public wouldn't know us.
But they will now after today, because you are, so to speak, branching out into a few different areas that I think, I've looked at these and I think they will enhance the motoring experience, your car, for anybody listening today. Mm-hmm. Let's talk first about this the diesel fuel cap. Tony, in my car, you can't put petrol into the diesel tank, and that's the same with some models.
Yeah, well, like Ford never really got as much credit. I think BMW has a mechanism there too, but Ford never got sufficient credit for coming up with the device. And really what Tom has here is a device that you can fit more or less like the Ford mechanism, and the internal fittings are basically the same. That prevents you wasting an awful lot of fuel and then having to call someone out. I believe there's a set charge now in the Dublin area of about €200 to get this sorted out. So believe me, Gerry, the amount of people who make mistakes filling fuel.
Petrol into diesel, diesel into petrol. What way is it mainly? The main error is which way? Diesel, petrol?
The problem really is where you've got a diesel motorist, and what they do is they accidentally misfuel and put petrol in where they should be putting diesel. Now the problem isn't so bad if they realise that they've done that before they move the vehicle or start the engine. However, if they do start the engine, as Tony says, they can have that problem fixed with maybe a couple of €100. It'll cost them a tank of fuel and at its best, and a little bit of cost to get it out. However, if they go ahead and they start the engine and they drive it onto the road, there are two significant changes. One is that with the amount of diesel that may be in the pump will be sufficient to get them onto the road or the motorway. Which, if it fails and if it stops in the fast lane on the motorway, it's a very serious problem.
Yes,
it can create a lot of problems. It can also do a lot of damage to the pump and the diesel pump in the car, and it can do a lot of damage to the engine, depending on how far they get.
So €200 could be the tip of the iceberg, and it's only the initial sting. Yeah. So what do you offer here?
What this is it's a device you put you replace the cap on your tank with this device. It fits onto the neck of the diesel tank, and it effectively becomes your cap for your diesel tank.
And it won't allow you put a petrol nozzle in. That's it.
Correct.
It'll only take diesel then at that stage. I see it here, Tony. I see it there. I actually have it in my hand.
Is a 20 mil. It's a 21 mil nozzle for a petrol engine.
Yes,
for a petrol pump.
Right. And it will not go into that.
Correct. Where that is a 26 mil for a diesel.
And in she goes.
And
straight
that
away.
will allow
just
that
demonstrating
through.
that there.
Correct.
Yeah. And this can be retrofitted to any vehicle?
Any vehicle. There are only there are two. Well, you can have either model in locking and normal. But you with the petrol, you have normal cars. Most of them will be covered on our normal model, but there is an exception for BMW, older BMW models, and one or two of the commercials.
So this particular one I have here sits onto a diesel tank, retrofitted to a diesel. Do you supply one for the other way round, for the petrol, to prevent the other happening?
Normally, it normally isn't such a problem.
Okay, this is the big problem.
This one, the big problem is because the petrol or the petrol nozzle, or the petrol on the diesel on the petrol pump is smaller than the diesel. It's easier.
Logic. Yeah. I see it that way around. Yeah. How much would that set you back?
It would be retailing. We expect to have that retailing. It'd be $42.50 approximately plus the VAT.
That ain't an awful lot of money, Tony, when you think about what, 200 minimum a tank of fuel, or maybe worse if the car started up.
What's going to happen is that people who went through the exercise of making a mistake, and it is a terrible, simple, easy mistake to make, will jump at, I reckon, on the idea. Where others will think about, it doesn't happen to me, but let me tell you, it's so easy. It is so easy to happen.
Drop your guard just for a second.
Because filling stations nowadays are, as you know, as we said before, about selling bread rolls. You don't have anyone there like to employed to help people out, pump tyres or make sure they're getting the right fuel anymore. That used to be the case years ago. But no, it's a dreadful thing to happen to anyone. €50 thereabouts is going to get you.
And you can fit that yourself. Just put it on yourself. It's simple.
About 3 minutes.
No complications in it.
About
Excellent. So this
no particular skills needed. All the instructions are with it.
Nice bit of quality to it.
Yeah, and retrofitted to any diesel vehicle that doesn't do what the more up to date and the certain models do and marks. That's one. Next thing is something that I'm interested in, because I don't know what it is about me, but you know when you put your NCT and your insurance and your tax disc in the front of the car, within, I think, days at times, maybe weeks, Tony, they're all crumpled up, the thing is misshaped, they're falling out. This is something different.
It is.
Mm-hmm. What is this?
What I've been making these for many years now for the industry, and we brand them with their own branding. I've been unhappy with it since the first one I made. To be honest with you, I never liked it. But what I was been looking for is a material which would allow us to be able to put the disc on the film, hold it sufficiently to allow a customer to be able to put it onto the window, have it remain on the window, but be able to change the disc when they need to be able they need to change the tax disc.
And this does this, because I looked at the YouTube demo of it, and it is perfect, and it sits dead flush with the screen of the car.
Absolutely.
I've seen it taken off a couple of times and the disc's changing, and you put it back up each time, and it's as neat as anything there. So on God, the Síochána can give it a good examination, make sure you're in order on the road.
Yeah,
it took you a while, obviously, to come across this.
We've been looking for that one. We've been in a number of countries, including China, to not exclusively on that task, but all the time looking for the material to enable us to be able to create this product.
And Tom, are you going to sell that out through your own business, or are you going to supply it to others around the country?
Well, obviously we have a large customer base, and the dealers will like it from their own point of view, because it's new, it's neat, it's the problem that they had would have been that the disc or the holder that would have been using heretofore would have, as you say, sag and
it looks terrible. It does. Now, maybe we're being pernickety and people don't care about it.
Yeah, and they don't like that.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at this for a very long time, and we found a manufacturer to manufacture the film for us, and it's being manufactured as we stay, and that's what we're doing at the moment. So
no more untidiness on the windscreen, Tony. It looks really well.
It does, actually, yeah.
The third interesting area we wanted to talk about with Tom Murphy today is this. Could I say it's a blood test for a car? Would that be a fair description? Now when you go to the hospital, they take a sample of blood and they can nearly tell everything about you.
We've had it done many times, and it's a good description for it. Yeah.
Talk to me about it. What is it?
What is it's called motor checkup. And what it does is an untrained, don't have to have any particular skills, don't have to be an engineer or anything. They can take a drop of oil from a warm engine and place it on it's a chemically impregnated pad, to use a fancy word. And what happens is when the oil, you put a drop of oil onto the pad, and what happens is that the oil will spread on the pad and form rings. Each of those rings means something. For example, you have there will be a chart that comes with the test that the customer will be able to have. I'll give you that one there.
Yeah,
Gerry.
Let me look at it.
You'll be able to have a little look. You can see what the pattern of the rings start to look like.
Okay, so what you have on this, on the left-hand side, are a series of rings and what they mean. And we see there's 4 squares here. One to test brake fluid, one for engine oil, one for transmission oil, and the other for the power steering fluid.
Correct.
So you put a drop on each of these.
A drop of the relevant fluid or oil.
And then you compare it with the chart on the left, and it diagnoses the state of health of your car from those 4 perspectives.
Correct. That's
ingenious.
Correct.
And I don't need to be a mechanic or an engineer or anything.
No.
Even me, Tony, who hasn't a mechanical bone in his body, could do this.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, actually. We're after taking 2 samples outside. One of a car that Tom has borrowed, actually, just for his own, is in for service. And of the car I'm driving, one is diesel, one is petrol. So that's the diesel one there, which is filthy, absolutely. Tells you straight away that oil requires changing.
It's a car only trade-in. I borrowed the car.
Yeah.
And it's a car just traded in, and it's not giving a reading because it just needs to...
Yeah, so it needs attention urgently, and you can tell that quite
There's a lot of...
what about the other one?
The petrol is fine. Like, there's a lot of interesting things there. Will tell you, like, for example, if there's water in your oil. Now, I know that there could be mechanics listening and say, well, you take out the dipstick of a car and you'll see cream on it. It tells you the same thing. But for Joe Public, and indeed for someone maybe a car being traded in or something, it is a very quick, unique little test. Yeah.
Yeah, well, when if I may say, when the public are thinking about buying a used car, they are buying something that somebody else has maybe the best use of, and whilst the dealers, reputable dealers, do go to extreme lengths nowadays to prepare a car and have it at the level of preparation that a customer deserves to have it at. Sometimes they may miss something. So, but they're trading in a car, so it's very useful from the point of view of a dealer. When they're trading in a car, they can do the test themselves.
And if I was buying as well, if I wanted to do an initial screening, as
Correct.
It's called, this is good for that because...
Correct.
And the other thing, Gerry, there's a lot of emphasis here on engine oil, but what we forget is that transmission fluid and that brake fluid does require regular enough changing too, and it is in the service books, and it does recommend when, but it will carry out that test, and brake fluid also.
I told you we were going to help you today on Late Lunch with Your Motoring. Tom Murphy from MD Motor Display Systems, is the MD of Motor Display Systems, is with us on the show, and Tony Conlon. Short break, we'll be back after these. Tom, you didn't mention this little fella here that goes into that a cap that goes onto the diesel car to prevent the petrol going in. What's that little fella for?
It's a little device. It's a little nozzle, effectively, that comes with the kit, and it's designed to be inserted into the device in the event that you run out of fuel and you have to use a jerry can or something to get you some fuel to get you to the petrol station.
Very handy.
Or if you want to put a tube in to siphon some fuel out, you have that there.
I like it. That's a little addition to...
Yeah, you just carry it in the boot of the car, in the glove compartment or whatever.
To the retrofitted cap. Where can people find out more information about all these little nicky-nackies that you're offering here?
Well, what we're doing at the moment, we're establishing a dealer or a network of outlets for it. They will come from motor factors and obviously dealers that we already deal with and know as well. And what we'll be doing then is we'll be placing those on our website, so as people will be able to go in and there and see where the local outlet is.
And your website is?
It's www.motordisplay.com.
You'll get all the information there. Thank you so much for telling us about these are interesting, as I said, they add to the motoring experience, Tony. Tony, we have